Bonjour. Salut Denzel. Hope you're doing great. And of course, you're welcome to this week's lesson. In our last class, we continued again with the sounds exercise in French. Though you were a little bit very attentive at the start, but of course, you deviated a little bit as we moved into the class. So, we're hoping, of course, that this week you're going to be extremely attentive and make sure you understand everything we're going to do so that we get to read a story as soon as possible. So, in the last lesson, we talked about the P, R, U, ong sounds, as you can clearly see right here. And we asked you to pay extremely attention, of course, to this letter here, this E with the accent aigu, which again we mentioned is pronounced as A, for example, as in the word P, which is right here. Also, we made sure you understood that this other E here with the accent facing to the right side of your screen is pronounced E, which gives us the sound P as in the word we have right here. And also the next letter, which is a sound circumflex, equally has the same pronunciation as the previous one. Of course, it's equally pronounced E, which gives us the pronunciation for this word as P. So those are the two, at least, which you had lots of issues understanding. So we hope by now that you must have reviewed this lesson again and making sure that these vowels aren't an issue again to you anymore. All right. So today we are going to move forward, of course, to the next sound, which is, as you can see here, right here, we have the S, T, ng sounds. S, T, ng. Of course, these are them above here. We're equally going to see how this S and T, of course, combine with the vowel sounds which you already know, and we see the sounds which we obtain at the end. So you notice clearly that all vowels you see here are exactly what you've seen already. So there is nothing strange here, and we hope at least that you're going to apply what you learned previously with those other sounds, of course, and use them right here, because it's all about reviewing and applying what you've been learning, and use them, of course, in the upcoming sounds building exercises. Like we mentioned, they are all related. So let's get started with the la letter S, and of course combine them with these vowels which you see right here in the middle, and see what we obtain as sounds in the end. So please, you're going to repeat after me. We're going to be very quick. Ready? Yeah, let's go. S, E, S. Again. S, E, S. Good. Next. S, E, C. S, E, C. Good. Next. S, E, C. S, E, C. Next. S, E, C. Of course, the one below here, together with the one above, we mentioned, have the same pronunciation. So it is C for those two. Next. S, U, Su. Again. S, U, Su. Great. And the next sound, of course, remember, this ON sound here is pronounced on. So when we have it at the end, what do we have as word? We have S, on, song. Again, S, on, song. And the final one, remember the OU. The OU obviously is pronounced U. U. So when we do the S-O-U, what do we have? We have su. So it's going to give us the sound S-U, su. Great. So we believe that has been perfectly understood. Now let's move right away to la lettre T, and of course combining with these same vowel sounds and see what we obtain this time around with the letter T in question. So let's start with the first. We have T, E, T. Again, T, E, T. Very good. Next. T, E, T. Again. T, E, T. Brilliant. The next one, remember the next sound. Remember the next sound. How do you pronounce that E with the accent to the right? Yeah, you did it. So obviously that is pronounced E, which gives us T, E, T. T, E, T. Great. And the next one, yes, you got it right. Of course, it's still pronounced E, just as the previous. So what do we have? T, E, T. Okay, once again, T, E, T. Very good. You're wonderful. Now let's move on to the next letter. Of course, the letter here is letter U. In French, remember, it's not U. It's, yes, it's U. 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 When you pronounce U, you have a round lips, and of course, it bulges outwards. So U. So when we do that right here, what do we have? We have T, U, T. Brilliant. Again, T, U, T. Very good, very good. Now the next sound, remember, is the O-N. O-N combined together is pronounced as what? From what you remember, of course, we saw it with the letter S, and yes, it is pronounced on. So T plus on gives us ton. And finally, we have the U sound right here. And once again, when we combine T and the U sounds, what do you obtain? We obtain tu. Yes, tu is the word we obtain. So we have T, U, tu. And once again, you were brilliant and amazing. So we hope these pronunciations stay within you. And of course, remember again to take extreme attention and serious attention, of course, to those vowel sounds, especially for the A, which is right here. Especially for the A, which is right here. For the A, which is next to it. That's, of course, this A right here, which is next to it. And, of course, this other A here, which is just next to it as well. Pay extreme attention to them. And, of course, not leaving out the on for the O-N and the U for the O-U. So once you're able to do that, you find out that it is very, very easy to retain the pronunciation for any letters, of course, which have these vowels involved. Because the consonants will not be an issue. The issue here is you making sure to remember the pronunciation for these vowels, okay? All right, very good. Now that we are done and we perfectly understand how to pronounce these sounds combining with la lettre S and la lettre T, now let's see if we can apply that knowledge, of course, in the exercise we have right below here to try to read these French words, some of them sounds, of course, which you have right below here. So we're going to start with the very first. Remember we said, in order for you to not have any stress reading out the words, try as much as possible to read them in syllables. So we have the first syllables right here, which is S-A. And SR is pronounced sa. And of course, we have PEN. Remember, we saw the N sound, which is IN, and we pronounced it as N. Very good. So, which gives us sa pen. Sa pen. And of course, sapin in French, in English, simply means a Christmas tree. Alright, let's move on to the next word. Again, remember in syllables, the first syllable is this, the S plus the U sound, which is so above there. So SU is pronounced su. Very good. And of course, the second syllable is P, which gives us the word soup. Great. But of course, we mentioned, and it always still applies, that whenever we are reading French words for most letters, especially letter E, and of course, different consonants ending the word, or different consonants, of course, found at the end of the word, we mostly find that those consonants, together with this letter E, most especially, are silent. So, we always tend to read the letters next to them, and of course, leave the last letter silent. So, in order to give it the right accent, we're going to pronounce this word as soup. 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 Just like the soup in English. So we close the pronunciation with the P. Soup. And of course, yes, you must have guessed. Soup in English is simply the soup, of course, we should drink. In French, it's written with an E at the end, but of course pronounced exactly as the English word soup. Alright, great. Let's move on to the next word. And the next word here is, remember the T with this A as a circumflex, which is still pronounced E. So we apply what we did to pronounce the previous word, which was soup, and forget about the last E at the end. So what do we have as word in that case? We obviously have this word pronounced as tete. Remember, T-E is te, together with the next T is pronounced tet. So we have the word tet. Tet. Good. And what is tet in English? Okay, it's actually one of your body parts. And we've seen this already. Yes, of course. It's your head. Very good. Your head is what we call in French tête. Excellent. Let's move on to the next word. The next word is right here. And it is te-ong. Te-ong gives us which sound? Yeah, you got it right. Te-ong tong. Te-ong tong. So we have this te-ong tong twice, right here and right here. So if we have tong plus tong, which word do we have at the end? Tong, tong. Very good. Tong, tong. And tong, tong in English is just a family person. And can you guess who is that? Okay. Your mother's brother or your father's brother. Of course, yes, it's your uncle. Tong, tong in French. Very good. You're really doing very well. Let's move on to the next. Remember to keep applying what we learned above. The next word here starts with L-A. How do you read L-A? Yes, of course, it is la. Now, P-N. Remember we saw P-N above there already. So P-N is pronounced what? Peng. Good, just like we saw in sapeng, just above there. So if we have la and peng, what then do we have as word right here? How do you read the word? Lapin. Excellent. Again. Lapin. Good. And what is lapin in English? Yes, lapin is a bunny. It's a bunny, of course. A bunny always hops around eating carrots, his favorite meal. So, in French, we call this lapin. Alright, let's move on to the next word. we have de, un, and of course de. Remember, we forget about the as we always do, since it's at the last part of the word, or is the last letter in this word. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to read de, un with the other d at the end. So let's start with the first. De plus un gives us which sound? De plus un. Yes, of course, it is dung, dung, dung. Now let's join that dung together with this second d at the end here to pronounce it as one word. And once we do that, what do we obtain? We obtain the word dunged, dunged, dunged. Yeah, it closes, of course, with the d at the end. So dunged in French. In English, we call this turkey. Of course, a turkey, not a country, but the volatile meat, the meat, of course, we should always eat for Christmas. Turkey in French is dunged. Good. We are now in the next word. And the next word we have right here is M, U. Yes, of course, that is pronounced mu. And then L, un. That's letter L together with the IN, which remember we said is pronounced un. So that is lung. Good. Now the first syllable is this, mu, and the second is lung. What word do we have then? Mu, lung. Mu, lung. Good. And what is mulung? Mulung in English is what we call a windmill. A windmill. Good. Next word. We still have the mu sound coming up. But of course at the end, we have the T on. Remember, on is pronounced on. So we have mu and tongue. Mu and tongue. When we join those two together and pronounce as one word, how do you read that then? Remember, the first syllable is mu and the second is tongue. So what then we have at the end? Mu tongue. Excellent. Mu tongue, of course, which in English is how we call a sheep. A sheep. Let's move on to the next word. You're amazing so far. The next word here is this. This is the first syllable, M plus A, which gives us ma. And T plus ng, which gives us tongue. Now, combining these two together, we obviously have the word ma tongue. Ma tongue. And matin in English is how we call morning, like we say good morning in French. So matin is the word for morning in English. Morning, not money, but morning, like good morning. All right. Next word, we have de plus un, which obviously we saw above as dunged. And in this case, de un is obviously going to be pronounced dung, but at the end, of course, of the second syllables, we have de plus on, which is dung. So now, the two syllables, the first is dung and the second dong, which gives us dang, dong. Dang, dong. Excellent. Ding dong. And what is ding dong? Ding dong, of course, is exactly the same as dunged, which you have above there. But just that, the main difference is in the gender of the two. Dunged, right here, dunged above here, is a female turkey, whereas ding dong below is a male turkey. Well done. So, we hope at least that you have perfectly understood today's lesson. So we're certainly not going to wrap up without reading the two sentences which are left below. So, again, it's all about applying the sounds you've learned so far in trying to read out the sentence to see how fast you're improving. Because if you're able to read out the sentences below here, that will show that you are actually paying attention and you already understand how to combine letters together and read them as single words. So let's try to read this. Sarah a bu de la soupe. Again, Sarah a bu de la soupe. So soup, of course, is right here. So now when we read it as one single sentence without spaces, we obtain the word Sarah a bu de la soupe. Sarah a bu de la soupe, which means in English, Sarah drank some soup. The past tense of the verb to drink in English is drank. In French, the past tense is a bu, right here. So which gives us Sarah drank some soup. Excellent. Now let's wrap it up with the next sentence. We're here. How do you read this? Tony a un mouton. Again. Tony a un mouton. Excellent. And of course, we already mentioned mouton above here, so you should definitely understand at least what mouton means in the sentence. So can you guess? Can you remember? Yes, of course. Mouton right here is how we call a sheep, just like we saw in the word right here. So mouton is a sheep. Now, since you already know that mouton is a sheep, what about the other sentence? Tony a un. Of course, you remember, un means one or a. It means number one or a. In this case, of course, it's going to sound more like the article, which is a. And I here, remember, is the verb to have. The verb to have. Tony would certainly remain as the name Tony, just like in English. So, noun. What does the sentence mean all combined together? Tony a un mouton. Tony a un mouton. Of course, it means Tony has a sheep. Tony has a sheep. Excellent. Tony has a sheep, of course, is Tony a un mouton. So you were very good during today's lesson. And again, like I always emphasize, please make sure to always review these lessons over and over, because you already know by now, like I always say, the easiest way you can always remember what we said about the lessons and to always remember the sounds is simply to review always. Because the more you review, the more this is going to always ring into your head all the time. And in that case, you are certainly going to always remember these sounds whenever you see them in words. And that's going obviously to be the beginning of your amazing progress and success in learning how to read the French language and, of course, understanding the sentences which you're reading. At the moment, it's still very basic, but of course, we need to take it gradually and make sure you're with us. So, we are done for today. And of course, like I said, we hope you understood the lesson absolutely well. That will be it for this week's lesson. And of course, we'll catch you on Sunday for the live lesson, where we shall again go through these materials and make sure you grab understanding and mastery of these sounds to the latter. So we say rendezvous dimanche, and it's au revoir from my end. À bientôt.